everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Indie Corner Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got an awesome guest here. He's a local Virginia actor. You may have seen him in constant commercials, and as well as the movie Lincoln. Please welcome Robert Shepard. How are you doing, Robert?
Hey, good. It's very nice to be with you.
I think do you like Robert or do you like Bob?
Either one. The official, there we go. The official name is Robert, but all my friends call me Bob. So as long as we've known each other, I think we're friends.
Okay, yeah, we've known each other for a while. I met you back in 2010 or 11, something like that. And
yes.
yeah, so it's been a while, and we worked together a bunch of times, and I always love working with you. You're just always
that.
Yeah, you're always a pleasure to have on set. So I just want to say, give us a little bit of a history. Like, when did you decide that you wanted to become an actor?
Actually, I wanted to be an actor from the time I was a little boy. I just didn't quite know how to get from there to where I am now. I was raised in the Missouri Ozarks on a farm, and it was a great experience. But the idea of being in movies was pretty far-fetched from most of the people that I knew, but I still had that desire. So it really took years of trying various things, and some worked out, some didn't. But then finally, after I was actually in the Army, and it sent me to Virginia at Fort Monroe, and I decided to retire here in this area with my family. And I'd actually gotten an agent before I retired from the Army. So I actually started booking jobs well before, actually almost as soon as I got here. So then when I retired, I tell people then I could actually afford to be a freelance actor.
Oh, nice.
When I had the Army pension coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
As a freelancer, as you may know, you never know what the income stream is going to be.
Exactly. And so when was your first big project?
Well, I don't know how big it was, but I actually made my national TV debut way back in 1970 as Bachelor number 2 on a game show called The Dating Game.
What? You were on The Dating Game?
Oh, yes. I was Bachelor number 2.
Did you win?
I did.
You won? Please tell me that's your wife right now.
No.
That would have been such an amazing story.
Well, it would. I have an amazing wife, but it's just not the one that selected me. And actually, both of us, her name was Jill, and we were on the show for the same reason. We were trying to figure out how to get into show business. So we had that in common. We were actually very compatible as far as being friends. But there was never any kind of romantic link during that time. So our trip was to New Orleans with we had a chaperone from Chuck Barris Productions, and so the three of us had a weekend in New Orleans as the Dating Game couple, and they took us around to various places like Al Hertz and Pete Fountain's clubs, and we were introduced as a Dating Game couple, and we'd stand and wave, and then they'd usher us backstage to meet whoever the headliner was. Then Monday morning showed up, and it's sort of like Cinderella back with the pumpkin, the glow of that weekend, little taste of celebrity was over, and I went back to actually Missouri and taught school again, finished out the year.
Did any of your students watch the show?
I don't know that they did, because one of the challenges was it was most people in those days, and this would be way beyond probably anything you would remember, Jonathan, they had these antennas on long poles in order to reach the TV station. And the Dating Game was on ABC, and we didn't get it. I actually had never seen the show until I was booked to be on it. But I knew about it. I read about it, so I was aware of it, and I had to go to two auditions before they selected me. And then once they did, I said, well, I better watch this thing because now I'm going to be on it. But very few people back in my area. We actually were invited by our banker's wife to come to her house because she was one of the few that actually had the ability. So my mom and brother and I went up and we actually saw it when it was broadcast.
What did you think?
Oh, well, I had a great time because you see, my goal was to be on TV, national TV. And so I was very relaxed. And, so I had already achieved my goal, so I had nothing to lose. And so they would throw these questions at you. Like one was, what do you spray all over yourself to get rid of the ugly girls? And without missing a beat, I said, well, actually, my dear, I've never met an ugly girl. They're all beautiful in their own way. And the audience clapped and they thought that was great. So when I won, actually, I turned to Jill backstage and I said, Jill, why did you pick me? Thinking she would say, oh, Bob, your answers were so clever. She said, I couldn't remember what anybody said. I was so nervous, but she said, I like the sound of your voice.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, well, I see. It's good to know that that wasn't like those shows aren't rigged, because like
No,
nowadays it feels like
no.
shows are completely scripted, and other than some game shows, like I'm pretty sure Price is Right is not scripted,
The
but
only one that was scripted was Jill. And maybe she got to write her questions. I don't know, but she had her questions already worked out. But all the answers that came from me and the other two contestants were totally ad lib. But that was the criteria I'm sure they had before they booked you on the show. So when you went through these auditions, they would throw all these crazy questions at you to make sure you could think on your feet and come up with an answer and not have dead air time, So
yeah.
so that was the main criteria they were looking for.
Wow, that's really cool. Like I didn't even know you were on it. I didn't know any of that stuff. So that's interesting stuff. So after getting your little taste of celebrityism and stuff and having notoriety because of that, did you like how long did it take before you went back out to get some more acting gigs?
Well, I actually, after that, I left teaching and went back to my old university and got an Army commission and went to grad school. And then I went into the Army and I had a 4-year commitment. And after that 4-year commitment, I actually resigned my regular Army commission. And I was married at that time. And we were expecting our first child, but with my wife's agreement, we left the military and moved back out to LA. This is like 40 some years ago. And I started trying to get into this show business deal again. And I went had the GI Bill. So I went to a radio and TV broadcasting school. I was doing some extra work. And I also did a commercial actors class that was taught by casting directors from commercials. And actually, they really liked me and they got me signed up with one of the top commercial agents in LA. But 10 days after our daughter was born, my wife had a major medical event. And so thankfully, she was completely restored. But by that time, we had some medical bills and I was kind of worn out physically and mentally. So we left LA and headed back to the Ozarks again. But before I left LA, I really felt very strongly delay is not denial. And that meant to me that someday this acting career will come about. And so I rested in that. I wasn't too worried about it. I still wanted it, but I could sort of let it go. And so we went back to Missouri. I taught school. I was in the National Guard for the Guard, went back to active duty. From active duty, then I was able to stay on to get my 20 plus years for retirement. And then that's when the full-time kind of acting career really kicked in.
Wow. So do you think that I mean, well, one thing also, like, was living in LA really like helpful at all to you?
It was helpful, Jonathan, in the fact that I sort of got that out of my system, if you will. You know, if you're back in the Midwest or somewhere, you look at that, and what would it be like to actually be there? What would it be like to, to work on a movie or TV set? What would it be like to, try to have a career there? So I had enough of it that I really got to experience it, and that was also one of the things that I felt we were able to accomplish in that 8 months. So I actually, though, never really had a desire to go back to live in LA full time. I really, I felt I was led to, we stayed here in Virginia, and I had some really good agents and started booking a considerable amount of work. And so I really did not ever feel like I needed to go back to LA. I felt like I had experienced it. I was glad I did, but I've been very, very happy with the opportunities that I've had here.
Yeah, no, Virginia, is so it's so weird because like you don't think of Virginia mainly as like a very it's not like Hollywood, or even Atlanta now, but it's growing, I think. I feel like the film community is even growing even more, especially with the low budget, arena.
Exactly. One of the things too, back in the earlier days, and you, I'm sure, remember it, was New Dominion Pictures.
I remember I've heard of that.
Well, they had probably a half dozen of these reenactment shows of various kinds. The
Oh,
FBI
okay. So they're
files,
the company that did Wicked Attractions and
yeah,
stuff,
new
right?
detectives, the prosecutors, on and on and on. I probably, in the earlier days and when they were still in full fledged business, did at least 40 of those shows. And it was really excellent training because, for one thing, most of them, not all, was primarily improv. And they
Hmm.
would tell you what the situation was, and then you actually got to kind of create your own dialogue. But what a great training ground that was, to be in front of a camera. I think it helped me really, hopefully, learn to be very natural, to be very real. And so those were very, very, very helpful. Plus, I did a lot of training films, as well as student films from Regent University during the time. So I did anything that I could. I tell people when they ask what I studied, and I said, I think I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I just jumped in and did it, and I tried to learn from it.
Okay, so I have a question for you. This is completely different than what everything we've been talking about, but I gotta know. So, like, do you, whenever you get approached by a filmmaker or so, or somebody to act in their movie, have you ever turned anything down because you weren't happy with like the subject matter or anything?
I don't think that I have actually ever been offered anything that I felt I needed to do that. I could see that, though, very much as a possibility, but it really has not happened to this point, and I've been at it quite a while.
Yeah, because you seem like I see your posts on Facebook, your personal, your posts or whatever. You're very much a big church goer, I'm sure you've done faith films, but you've also done, horror films, and other things. So I mean, you do it all. And so I've always like wondered if there were things that people have said, hey, Bob, we love you to be in this. And you're just like, nah, but I'm glad to hear that hasn't happened yet. And if it does, I'd be, I wouldn't be surprised as well.
Well, I certainly would. It certainly is the potential that that it could happen for sure.
So do you think like because when I met you in 2010, like the internet was sort of like booming on social media for film stuff. Does that really help you out right now?
Oh, very much so. It's not unusual to actually get job offers through the Facebook Messenger. People will contact me, and or other things. I got a request fairly recently from a young man that wanted me to send his father a Father's Day greeting because they love my hearing assist commercial so much. It was part of the family almost, they felt like. So, he said, hey, I'd really like for you to give my dad a personal Father's Day wish. So I did. And actually, then that led me, now I'm on Cameo.
That's what I was going to ask,
Yeah.
right after that.
So if anybody wants to hear from the good old I love you, Dad guy, and wish people all the best for whatever, I'd be happy to do that. Just Robert Shepard at cameo.com.
Well, I love that too. And the only thing Cameo is wonderful, but then there are people I've never heard of, like, at all, and everything that get on there. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like at first it was kind of this really cool thing. Like you work out perfectly because you're in a syndicated, like national, commercial, So people all around the USA, at least, I don't know if it's international too, but it's national, can see you, and they're like, oh, that's, because I think I remember seeing you post something about being on a plane and was it a flight attendant?
It was.
Flight attendant recognized you.
Even with a mask.
Yeah. They recognized your voice, right?
And she said, I asked her, I said, why, how could you recognize me? Because one, I'm wearing these glasses and a mask. And she said, well, it was your voice and your eyes.
Oh, your eyes. Well, there you go.
But she says, I see your commercial all the time.
And yeah, and that's wonderful. I see it. I always get excited whenever I see it, like whenever I'm watching TV and it just pops up, and I'll be with my family and be like, hey, I know that guy. I work with him. So that's wonderful. So I'm very happy you're on Cameo. I just sort of get a little annoyed when I see somebody who has never really done anything at all that just gets on there, because then I'm like, like I feel like a lot of people start ruining a good thing. Like, it's really good at that, these celebrities or people you look up to or people you whatever can send, can book you for those things. So, I mean,
well, I was actually pleasantly surprised that they let me on, you never know, but they did.
Was it hard to get on there?
I think I had tried once before, and maybe it was I didn't hit the right button. I don't know, and it didn't happen. But then, actually, this when I got this request to do the Father's Day greeting, I thought, let me try it again. Because maybe if this young man named Aaron Joseph wants me, maybe others would too. And sure enough, I went through the process, and they said, "Hey, we'd be glad to have you on."
So you've done a lot of commercials, right?
I have.
And is that your most popular? Is there another one that's your most popular?
Well, obviously, the hearing assist is the one that is just so, almost constantly on multiple sites. So nothing I've done quite compares with that. The closest to it was several years ago. I did a Geico commercial, and I'm a minister on the beach, and I am performing a wedding ceremony, and it's actually both Geico and Hellsberg Diamonds. But that was a very nice commercial because they not only the first run, but they brought it out 3 more times after the first time. So it's actually turned out to be a very nice thing.
That's awesome, because just being in commercials and people being able to see you all over the place, and then all of a sudden look you up, right? Like a lot of people start looking like, who's that guy? Like I do that when I see a commercial and I'm like, I like that person or whatever. I'm like, who is the person in the, such and such a commercial, So it's a good way to get your name out there a little bit more. So let's talk about what do you like, what is it like being an actor today for you?
Well, it's actually, I think it's what I would call kind of a dream come true to be able to fully concentrate on an acting career. And the thing of it, Jonathan, is really I like all aspects of the process. I love to get roles and to develop characters. That's probably number one. But you know, I also I think doing you know, these interview shows and helping promote projects that I'm part of. I think that's a great part of the process as well. And you know, just about any of it is something that I really enjoy and look forward to. And I've also kind of got my toe wet a bit in the producing side world as well.
Oh, so you've been producing now.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
In fact, uh, I have a film called Past Shadows, and it will be available August the 23rd for streaming and for DVD. And we bill it as a supernatural faith-based film.
oh, that's cool.
So it's different. It's not your typical faith-based film for sure, but I have the lead role, and we were also able to bring in Corbin Burnson for a cameo.
Nice.
And we actually had our premiere over at the Commodore Theater earlier in the year, and it was such a fun night. We just had it was sold out. They had to open up the balcony, and we had all kinds of people. We had such great media coverage, so it was really a lot of fun.
Did you have any scenes with Corbin?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, but
Okay.
I have had.
Okay.
The way that I met Corbin was back in 2018. He did a film primarily in Smithfield called Mary for Mayor, and he cast me in a supporting role in that, and I met him. So it was through that link that I was able to convince him to come and do a cameo role in our film Past Shadows. And then later that year, even though I had no scenes with him, I was in a third film in 2018 with him called First Lady. And in a flashback, I actually play his father.
Nice. So that actually that's really cool because then you know all of it kind of comes full circle then.
Yeah.
So you've that's obviously not the only celebrity you've worked with, like or you know acted with. Who else have you worked with?
Well, I don't know if you would call it working with because when I did Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis simply came in and lay down on the bed and never moved.
Well, hey, that's
Yeah.
working with them. You know, you've
So
got literally a scene, and you're also with Sally Field, if I'm correct, too. She was in the scene.
well, kind of. She comes by in the most you know, she is the most emotionally distraught thing I have ever seen when she comes through the bedroom where he's dying, and she briefly passes by me. So can't say I hardly worked with her, but I mean, we were then probably a few inches apart as she went by.
That's awesome. I love seeing that stuff, and I love that you worked with Spielberg. You know, who's one of my idols. You know, I'm
He
sure a
was
lot.
incredible, Jonathan. He was, you know, of course, I don't know who would give the man a hard time anyway, but
Right.
he wouldn't have to be kind if he didn't want to be, but he was. He was, when we finished the scene, he thanked all the actors. And then at the very end, it was the last day of shooting. And so I had to pass back through where the set was to get to my vehicle after I had changed wardrobe. And he was about 6 feet from me, saying goodbye to I think one of the hairdressers on the film. And I stood there, and he walked over, and we had a really neat personal conversation that I'll always treasure.
Oh, that's nice. Because I mean, not that I don't think he's, you know, like a dick or anything. You know, he seems like a really nice guy on every interview that I've ever seen, and stuff. But then again, you don't know the person's personally. You don't. I've never been on a Spielberg film. You know, so you know, you hear these stories about Hitchcock being sort of a jerk on set to people, to actors or whatever. And
John Ford was apparently legendary as how badly he treated his actors.
William Wyler too. You know, a lot of them would do so many takes, you know, because they believed that it was if you like, I think it was William Wyler who did so many takes. He would do like 35 to 40 takes for, you know, an actor. And I mean, to me, that's just wasting time. But his view is if you work 30 to 35 to 40 times, after a while, it'll it'll start to like be ingrained in you of doing that scene exactly that way. Problem is you have to do every scene 35 to 40 takes to consistently get that. And that would just be too much.
Well, it was very interesting the way Mr. Spielberg did, and I only have the one scene to compare anything with him to. But I actually that day, even though I was a principal, I was my own stand-in. So I was there for the lights and all that. And they were getting.
Did you get credit as stand-in?
I didn't have a stand-in. Nope, I was my own stand-in that day. Too. But anyway, I did have a trailer. So.
Well, no, I'm saying, did you get like a credit to as being your own stand-in?
I should have had a double credit. So anyway, I'm there, and all of a sudden, the crew says the governor's coming. The governor's coming, and so I thought, well, because at that time it's Bob McDonnell. I said, oh, it's McDonnell. No, they called Spielberg the governor.
Oh, okay.
He was the governor. And so he came in and he stood behind the camera and he said, I'd like to, there were no introductions actually. He said, I'd like to hear your line. And so I figured he was talking to me since I started the scene and there was only one other actor that had a line in that scene. So I said it and he said, I need you to bring it down. I said it again. He said, I need you to take the word president down. So I knew then he wanted it very, very flat, the whole thing. So from that time on, I never got another acting note from him. And we probably did do it 25 times, but the reason is the camera would move. So it would be over here and we'd do about 5 takes. Then it would move here and we'd do 5 takes. Then it was here and we'd do 5 takes.
Okay, so you didn't have multiple cameras, you just had one?
Just one, yeah.
Okay.
Just one. And he tended to look through the camera. I don't think he checked in, some people have that little tent, and they have their little, like the video feed or whatever. I don't believe he did that. So
the video village, I guess, is what it's called.
I had to wait at the when it was over in costume until he looked at everything. And then once he did, they said, okay, you can go change to your trailer. But the other incredible thing, Jonathan, is that crew he'd had been with him forever. In one of the lighting sets techniques they were doing for this, the lighting director said, okay, guys, we're going to set this up like we did for Munich.
Oh, wow.
How many years Munich was, and they all knew what that meant,
Well, I'm sure that became a thing, like, right? Like, he probably has certain, like, movies that have a certain look or a certain thing, and then they go, let's do it like that. And the crew all worked on all those movies or something, so they all knew each other.
Understood. They didn't have to ask, what do you mean? Or how does this? They just went in and did it,
That is awesome. I love hearing stories of what it was like on set of like big movies, because a lot of times I hear the independent film stuff, so when I hear the big movies, I get excited because I love, I love that you had the opportunity to like pronounce Lincoln dead, like that to me is a pretty cool, like little thing, that one of my friends got to do, I love it. So
I did, Jonathan, work. The only film that I worked on that had multiple cameras, really, maybe I've had an A and a B camera at the same time, but in Evan Almighty, they had 4 cameras going at the same time.
Right. So how was that to work with? Was it easier to like quicker to get done?
Well, not necessarily, but wow, it was incredible. And I don't know if you've seen Evan, but it's a scene where the ark actually crashes into this hearing room, and all the animals flock into the.
What was that? Oops.
I think that was my computer went crazy.
Damn computers, man. Technology is great, but sometimes
It
you just can't
it
control them.
it does that once in a while. I have no idea why. But anyway, the in order to do that, and of course they on that we would have to leave certain spaces on the table open, tables we were seated at. And they actually then, after we were gone, they would bring in the real animals and put them in that spot. Then they would mesh them together along with their CGI. A lot of the birds and things were all totally created, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like three different kinds of things that they had to all blend together for the scene where the animals invade the congressional hearing room.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So did you get to work with Steve or no?
Well, now that's a story too. I'm sorry, all these things have
I
have
love it.
stories.
That's the point. That's why I
Um,
ask.
I got a call from my agent on a Friday, and I knew that Evan was filming up near Richmond, and but I hadn't gotten anything from it. I think I might have submitted, and they said we need you to go down to Wilmington to the Finn Cannons and audition tomorrow, which would have been a Saturday. So I went down, and the audition was simply they would say you'd react, and they'd say, "Oh, there's something over here, something over there," you know, kind of just to see how you would respond to things. And then, sure enough, on Monday morning, the agent called and said, "Bob, you've got to get to set by noon. You've been hired." And I was actually
Wait,
hired.
sit to noon that day or the next day?
It was Monday, so I auditioned Saturday, and then Monday morning got the call, and then went up by
You
at noon on Monday.
Oh my God. So that day they were like, hey, you need to go. Why? Okay. So you might know this, you might not know this, but I've heard this happen with a lot of bigger Hollywood sets, but why is it like the day of do people get the call to go do it? You know, like
Well, the only backstory I know of that, Jonathan, is that originally they were going to use extras and surround Steve Carell. Um, but at the last minute, and I think it was because for spontaneity, they actually then hired 11 actors as day players. And that way, if they made any kind of sound or said a word, even on accident or whatever, they would already be covered.
yeah, okay. So that is actually very smart. So I was working on a Lifetime movie, right? And I'm an extra, like, or whatever. And I was watching another extra. She walks by Kelly Hu's character, right? And Kelly just kind of she says like hello, or like, hello, she's walking by because that's what she was told by the director. And then the other girl goes hello, and they did the scene or whatever, and they cut, and then the director comes over and goes, that was great, I love it, let's not have you say a word. Because she wasn't supposed to say anything, so they just had it where I guess it the girl was already walking away when the other girl walked up. But they had to make it look like there was some action there, which made sense. But and it couldn't be like the girl just like totally ignores the other girl. You know what I mean? That's rude. That'll look like make her character was a very nice woman. Be rude. So and or she can just have her say hi, and then the other girl just nod. That'd be weird. So I guess they fixed it up. But I that was the first time I'd ever realized that being on sort of a SAG set, or whatever, that if they had actually had somebody actually have lines, they would have had to pay them the SAG rate, I guess.
Yes, they would be hired as a day player.
Exactly. So
But
they
anyway, regarding Steve Carell, So we get to set, and the director starts telling each of us where our assigned seats are going to be, the 11. And he sat me down, and I noticed that the chair next to me was empty. I thought, well, now that's interesting, but I had no idea what it meant. Well, then the next day when we started filming, that was the seat that Steve sat in. So I sat by him for 4 days
Oh,
as we filmed those scenes.
did you chat with him?
One day, and of course, there's a protocol, at least that I've always followed. You don't really speak to the star unless they indicate they want to be spoken to. Now, I know some people get away with it, sometimes out of just they don't quite know what the protocol is, or they're just bolder than maybe I am, but I always followed that rule. So outside of maybe a nod when he sat down, but on the second day of filming, there was a break, and he turned to me and we started talking like we were old friends.
Oh,
And we
that's
talked
nice.
and talked and talked. But then the next day he comes, and outside of a nod, we never said a word. And the fourth day, we never said a word. But one
Well,
day we had a really good conversation.
well, you know what? I've realized that with celebrities, and this is the thing, that I guess a lot, you know, so I know some people that lived in Wilmington, and they were on the and extras on Dawson's Creek, and Katie Holmes would not talk to any of the extras at all, right? She's kind of, and neither would and most of the people except for James Vanderbeek, who would go hang out with the extras in their room. They had like a room that they would watch TV, and he would come in the room and watch like TV with them. Like there was a sports or some football game or something on or whatever. It was like Sunday, so he would go in there to watch that with them while he was waiting for the next scenes. And I thought when I heard that, I was like, that's sweet, but like I get it. Like I get where actors, maybe celebrities, stars don't really want to just talk to random people that they don't know. Like I mean, I get it. Like unless they feel that they have the need to, like Steve Carell did. And Steve seems like a really nice guy too. So it'd be funny to see him and Steven Spielberg work together, the two Steves.
Yes, I don't think that's ever happened.
Um, I don't think so. Not yet. But is I wouldn't be surprised one day if they have like if that's on both their bucket lists or something. Just get those done. So let's talk a little bit more about what do you like? What have you been up to these days?
Well, I just got back from filming a short film, and the creator's hope is that it will be a pilot for a TV series, and it's called Lucifer and the Father, and I play God.
You play God.
I do.
That's some pretty big shoes to fill.
Well, absolutely, or sandals, or whatever it might be. Exactly. You probably did. You see the pictures of me with the beard?
I did.
That's why I grew the beard for that role.
But isn't that sort of like a very like I don't know stereotypical thought of God, always the bearded, the character, like
Yeah.
I mean in my mind I always hear like people say, oh, he was the he's not just some bearded man, or whatever. But I guess was that their choice or was that your
Actually,
choice?
it was my choice.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I inflicted it on myself, and I actually kind of like myself in a beard. But so many of my, and as you can see now, it's all gone. But um, I um, I thought it was appropriate for the role. And
when
oh my goodness, Jonathan, visually it's going to be stunning, because the concept is, as Lucifer and the Father have these conversations, then they get whisked away to various different places. And so they're at a waterfall, or they're at a pristine lake, or they're at a lava flow, and then sometimes they're sitting at a table across from each other. And so to break it up, so it's not just sort of the monotony, if you will, of a talking head, the director came up with this idea of moving to various locations during their conversation. And visually, I tell you what, Oregon is one of the most stunning places where we filmed this that I've ever seen in my life.
So just being there probably was just amazing and
It
breathtaking.
was. It
So
was.
imagine seeing in 4K is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Definitely. So is it weird for you to play God in a way? Like, was it kind of something where you felt like, did you, as a Christian, did you feel like you had to like pray to God and tell him, hey, like, look, I know you know, but I'm just acting here. Don't, you know,
Don't strike me down.
I know, let me do this, because I've always felt weird, like, in Supernatural, there's a guy who plays God, right? In the TV show Supernatural. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just, and he didn't know in the beginning that he was going to end up playing God. And I don't even think they did. It just sort of happened, that they go, oh, this is God, right? And, he realized that. And then all of a sudden, I think he felt like, oh my goodness, now this is a big character. Like this is something. Did you feel at all like you were just like, oh my goodness, like I've got these, I've got a character that's bigger than life, like how did
Well,
you do it?
it certainly is a bit daunting. But the good news is I had time to kind of prepare myself because we'd been in talks of doing a project in which I would do this for several years. So it wasn't sprung on me just overnight. So you kind of come to grips with that. But no one, of course, can give God justice. I don't care how good an actor they may be. But so yes, it's a bit daunting. We actually, of course, every day, everybody else on the set were Christians too. So we always started the day with prayer, and hope that the good Lord helped us to get through. But oh my goodness, the other thing it was the most challenging role I've ever had for several reasons. One, getting to these locations. And I mean, I'm an old guy and we'd have to go up and down trails and hills and all kinds of places to get to them. So that was enough. And then he has written it almost in a Shakespearean dialect, if you will, for God. And
Oh,
so
wow.
memorizing big monologues, not just occasionally, but I mean, I had probably 4 or 5 monologues throughout this short film. So it certainly was a challenge, and I'm just trusting that it'll all come out and turn out well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So God speaks like he did in the Old Testament.
A little bit, but it certainly didn't talk like Bob.
You're right. Well, I mean, I guess that's how you. I don't know. Like, does God adapt to the times? Would he speak like if you met him today? Would he speak in urban, language at all? Would he be like, "Yo, what's up, Bob?" Like, I
Exactly.
mean, I always laugh when I saw like, was it Barney on How I Met Your Mother was like, "Yo, God, what up?"
Yeah.
Like, speaking to God or whatever prayer. Like, would he? How would he react? I don't know. Like it's funny. I'll never know until that day. So until then, I guess we all have our guesses on how to write or play that
I guess
character.
our two best examples on screen are Morgan Freeman in
And
the
Bruce
two,
Almighty.
Evan and the other film, and then George Burns in Oh God.
Right.
But I
And
didn't
both are
smoke a cigar.
comedies
I
too.
didn't smoke a cigar in homage to George.
That would have been interesting.
I
I wonder how many people would have caught that though,
don't. I don't know.
because it's not weirdly enough, oh God is not as popular these days, and I think a lot of it has to do with like what's popular is what's streaming, and trending on streaming. So not a lot of people probably have watched oh God in a while, or whatever, or if they have, it's because they're just really big fans of that movie. I adore those things. Like I adore that movie. I adore like Cocoon. Any movies with those with people that older gentlemen that are actually getting work done these days. On that. Tell us. So you just wrapped that up. Are you? When's it coming out? Do you know?
It's going to take 2 months to edit. And the problem, since he's looking at it as a pilot, I really don't know when it will actually just be streamed yet, because it may have to go through a process of being submitted for the possibility of, becoming a series. So it may not really be readily available. I don't know yet, but I hope so. I hope it will be. And I do know there are already some churches interested in showing it, and so there will be some screenings, private screenings, or at least for that particular church. When it gets on maybe Vimeo or YouTube or Facebook, I don't know yet.
Right. So, interesting. I want to I want to see it. So is it like 30 minutes long, an hour?
It's actually only about 20 some minutes long.
Okay. So it's like, half hour, kind of show.
And his concept is, have you seen The Chosen, Jonathan?
Not sure.
No, it's basically New Testament, the story of Christ, and it's at least in the circles that I'm part of, it's wildly popular. And he did it all with fundraising. He raised like about $12 million, I think, to fund it. So,
oh wow,
so that's an incredible story. But anyway, because it is so much a New Testament and following, Jesus, the creator of this would like to go back and cover Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, their children, Abraham and Isaac, the Old Testament characters, and then Lucifer and the Father, our characters, would actually be in each of the episodes, sort of showing how we have influenced those events. But it would be Old Testament based rather than New.
So do you have any scenes with Lucifer?
Oh, constant.
Okay, so
Yeah, constant.
I'm excited to see Job. Because
Now, he would like to do Job. He would really love to do Job, but it's going to be a little more complicated. So I don't know. He has that in the back of his mind that he would love to do, but when, I don't know, because Job is a little bit more complicated.
Job just seems so more kind of like a comedy. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Because like the whole idea is like the devil and God are like taking bets basically on this poor guy's soul of like whether he's gonna break. So it's sort of like that's sort of almost like a sitcom in itself. Is like I can see that, more than like a I mean, it would be dramatic, but you know what I mean. But like it would be sort of funny, like, hey, I bet he breaks right here. No, oh dang, like I can see some sort of funny bits with it, The other ones seem like more like like an anthology kind of thing where it would be like separate stories, but like the wraparound segments are the sun and or the Lucifer and God. Do you think that's sort of the way that they're planning it, or is that just the way I'm thinking in my head?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's cool. I would love to. I mean, Joseph, in the Technicolor Dreamcoat and the all the different stories that are there. There are a lot in the Old Testament that would be fun to do. So yeah, I could see a whole show like that. That'd be fun. Especially if you kind of, is it like modernized, or is it like updated, or is it like strictly set to the to like the way that people talked?
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Jonathan?
Is it like modernized at all, like the way people talk now, or is it going to be more the way, like you said, your character talks like Shakespearean? Do all of them sort of have that
No,
Or
I don't think so. I don't think so. And Lucifer certainly doesn't.
okay.
He does not at all. And actually, it's not so much the way he speaks; it's the way that the screenwriter phrased his phrasing. And it wasn't like my head would normally wrap around that. So I had to. It was more how the phrasing, and it reminded me more of Shakespeare,
Okay.
even though it'll be totally completely understandable.
Okay. Okay, great. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I'm like that show sounds amazing, and I really can't wait to hear more about it. I really hope it does well. And gets is it looking at like Netflix or like a
Well, actually, it's the one he would like is the one that actually distributes The Chosen, and it's called Vid Angel, I believe.
oh, cool.
So a newer one, but it's doing very, very well.
Awesome. Well, good. I hope is that on Roku, do you know, VidAngel?
There's apps. A lot of that's over my head, but I know you can get it on an app. You can get it on, I believe, on streaming. All the various and sundry ways it would be available. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, because yeah, that stuff I'm starting to really get into, like Roku and all that stuff. I absolutely love it because that's where it's sort of where our industry is heading. I mean, I still love DVD and I still love physical copy, but I also love streaming stuff because it's just so much simpler. Like just click the button and it's there. Search, find it, and that's it. So yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else that you feel like you needed to plug? Is there other movies that you need to
Well,
like, give a
I
shout
would
out to?
hope that everyone would remember to look for Past Shadows coming out August 23rd, and on Facebook, my page, and I also have an actor Robert Shepard page on Facebook, and I also have a website that's being developed as well. So all of those would be ways that folks could follow along. And we're also booking some theatrical showings for the film Past Shadows as well. And a couple of those are getting ready, but nothing's too close here that we're looking at. But there may be another opportunity here in our area for people to come out to the theater and see it. I think the only other thing, Jonathan, coming up is I have never been a cartoon voice. And it looks like this will be the year that I will do that. There is a children's cartoon called Benny the Barnacle that's being developed.
Benny the
And
Barnacle.
I'm actually a producer on that as well. And I'm supposed to play Obadiah the Ancient Oyster.
Nice. That's awesome. You do have a great voice. So I'm very happy, to see that because a lot more people are doing that. A lot of people are jumping into animation and stuff, and
And
doing
actually, Corbin
voices.
Burson is signed on to be a character in that as well.
Gee, that Corbin man, he's following you.
Well, probably the other way around.
You're following
But
him.
of course, who else I'm really looking forward to working with.
Who?
This guy called Jonathan Moody.
I don't know that guy. Never heard of him. Yeah, no. Well, we definitely have some plans in the works, and can't really talk about that or anything yet. But we do have some plans, and we can't wait to have you see what we're cooking, so we can start getting that going. You're going to be playing an awesome character who was actually based on another former character that's in another movie that we can't talk about. So I'll talk to you about it afterwards, but and everything you already know, but I'm really excited, and I love I absolutely love working with you because you're just a lot of fun on set, and I feel like actors a lot of times get really, you just can't tell who's gonna have fun and who's who's going to be like kind of stiff and hard to work with, and I'm so happy that when I met you, you're very easy to direct, you're very easy to work with, period, and obviously you love to promote yourself. So that's always helpful, and
Well,
everything.
I am really looking forward to it, and it's been a pleasure today too for us to get reacquainted a bit. It's been a while.
I know, seriously, too long. I think the last thing we worked on together, was it The Invited, or was it there something
Yes,
else?
it
The,
was. And
the
you know,
Invited.
I have that in my reel.
Oh, good. I really enjoyed you in that, you know. I thought you'd I really the only thing we kind of make fun of in a way, and this is not anything to do with you. Obviously, this is when we should have checked the footage before we did it. But when Jackie goes around to give you the Heimlich, it looks really funny because she was way too small to be giving you the Heimlich at that time. You were much taller than her, so she's just like, ah. And every time we see that, me and Jackie would laugh. We were roommates together for a little bit, so yeah. So we would joke around because it wasn't a bad thing. Like it wasn't obviously it wasn't your, you did a fantastic job. We always say that. It's just like when she comes around and does the Heimlich to you, it always just makes us laugh a little bit. We're like, if we ever redo that, we'll we'll fix that, But if we ever redo The Invited, it will be as a feature, which we're hopefully doing in a couple of years, and you will have a completely different character. So then, but you will be welcome back. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're going to be in almost everything I ever do. I always love working with you, and I can't wait to continue to work with
Well,
you.
it's mutual. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and everybody. Tune in next month for 2 more episodes. And hope everybody has a fantastic week. Thank you, guys. Bye.